Alright, so I think this is starting up. So, for those of you who didn't know, who weren't following along, um, one moment. I should be fine. I tried to do this as a Twitter space, and Twitter fucked me off because it's run by Space Karen, and he would rather fight the wokes than win at Liberty or, software design. And his fucking Twitter spaces is garbage, and it routinely fucks people off, and it fucked me off, and I'm fucked off, and I'm just gonna do this on YouTube because fuck it, we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks! Anyway, this is going to be a short discussion about, honesty in libertarian circles. I'm going to bash off three major things that have pissed me off recently. Also, we've got Kareem of Mises Caucus, Jacob of Mises Caucus, and Mike Bobby of the Mad Liberty Project. And we've got like a ton of things to discuss. We're going to try and make it as rapid fire as possible so we can get, this done in like the next hour, hour and a half ish. But basically, the general vibe I want to start with is fucking just unwillingness to be honest about shit. So, like, let's start with the Haitian cannibal thing. The Haitian cannibal thing really is the kind of thing that sets it off for me. Because yes, there are Haitian cannibals. There are cannibals in every fucking country. Cannibals in America existed and have for a long time. And it's not controversial to say fuck cannibalism. It's not hard to get people on the we shouldn't eat people boat. And personally, I for one, controversial opinion, I oppose cannibalism even in a survival situation because there's these things called prions, and it's not a good idea to get those, especially if you're trying to do the whole surviving thing. And like prions disease on its own is bad enough, but then you get rid of a fucking like party member and you have less manpower to deal with shit. And you have less capability to survive. So it's not even a good idea in a survival situation, much less in a situation where you're just trying to exert authority over other people as a member of a warlord gang. I'm not over here trying to fucking simp and cock ride for the fucking cannibal gangs. What I am saying, though, is that we need to be honest and we need to be fact-based. And when this shit trended, what happened was a significant amount of people in these fucking circles, in libertarian circles, just spread around the idea that there were cannibal gangs that had overtaken Haiti. And no, in fact, there aren't. That isn't true. So when fucking these people decided to come out with that, the reason that they did is because an article for the Daily Star came out, and they do this thing. A lot of people have this tendency now, and it's really fucking stupid, and I hate it, where they'll take a screenshot of an article headline, and they will post that screenshot of the article headline. And they will act as though that's all the proof they need. In fact, no, it's not, and shut the fuck up. The article headline in this case was done by a Zionist, and that Zionist was trying to like demonize Muslims and brown people in general because he's anti-Palestine and he's supporting the war in Israel. And so this contributes to his narrative. Well, bing bang boom, later on you find out that this motherfucker is literally pumping his articles out of AI.
Mm-hmm.
And AI is a huge problem in liberty circles right now because of shit like that. And because in American in American libertarian circles, like they're overrun with people who support AI, who support those who support AI, and when AI takes root, it allows for shit like this to happen, where truth and honesty don't matter. What matters is that Adam Kyer, I don't care, his name is probably dumb in French, said that he woke up this morning to find the people of Haiti are angry at me because of something I whacked through an AI tool we use at work, and the story actually has nothing to do with me. No, you fucking generated an AI story about Haitian cannibal gangs, and you got caught. And he calls this journalism. So my point is that libertarians need to value honesty and truth, and that needs to be a first principle. But meanwhile, while they aren't valuing honesty and truth, they're literally parroting this sort of thing and supporting this narrative. And the redheaded libertarian, not really a libertarian, she comes out and says, let's keep acting like the cannibal gangs wouldn't tap dance across the southern border and gorge themselves on American fatties. Anybody else, like, if you had a neckbeard saying this without the, fucking store-bought pies and the collarbone, you would eventually tell this person that they're an insane, delusional person and tell them to fuck off. But she says it, and she's reasonably, like, she's conventionally conservative attractive enough to hoe herself out for, like, conservative dad's ultra-right beer, and that's good enough for these people. So I'm going to start with that. People, we can get some impressions. I don't know if Mike fell off like on purpose, but if Mike wants to come back in and say something, we can do that. Either way, the point is, let's start with that subject. Let's start with honesty versus the AI monolith, and the fact that most people in these circles are willing to blindly accept shit as long as it matches their bias. Anybody have a similar story?
Someone, interestingly enough, Matt Peter Eidelman, I said I don't support any state or anything. I'm looking through the comments now, and he's like, oh, Cream's an anarcho-nihilist. I'm like, what does that even mean? And they're just saying dumb things. So to be fair, I did make a joke about barbecue not being vegan. I don't know why that stuff like that pops in my head. But a lot of people who are like simping for Malay, anything Malay does, Malay, and I'm like, he's not that impressive. He's just, like he said, he's just your typical South American, oh, I'm anti-woke, I'm anti-commie. Isn't that cool? Let's get them commies. Woo! And to me, now that I really think of it and look back, yeah, there's a million guys like that. So that's the thing I think is people are putting this, Malay way too much up on a pedestal when he's just a dime a dozen.
Well, also, like,
and they'll get another Peronist.
In the Malay circles, that's a great way to talk about this, because they just ignored his platform. He literally said a lot of pretty evil shit in his platform, and they still supported him. And then he did a bunch of evil shit once he was in office, and they still support him. So, like, yeah, I mean, he's a great example of this. Like, if people would just be honest and truthful, this wouldn't happen. But they're not. And so we get Malay-stan alleged libertarians.
Like,
so, what about you, Jacob? You got anything? Because I know you got like 30 minutes.
So the question is, any examples of people running away with, news narratives that they haven't fully researched, or?
Yeah, like lies that they just boost because it matches their bias.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's we see that pretty much with everything, and that's why, I mean, and I'm not saying I always do a good job of this. I try to not jump into the fray of current events, as quickly as others do, because I want to be as responsible as I can to look into things and not repeat things that are false, although I've done that on occasion and had to make retractions.
Retractions are good,
so I think I think early on in like the Israeli-Gaza conflict, that was something that bugged me, was that, and it was on both sides. So It's not even like, this isn't even a partisan thing. There's just in the heat of war, there's a lot of thing that gets misreported, and just people don't realize that, and so people are running away with all these crazy narratives of, Hamas did this, the Israelis did that, and then you let the dust settle, and you go back and actually try to substantiate it, and probably like 95% at least of the most like insane claims from either side are proven to be either completely fabricated or at least greatly exaggerated. So
yeah, like there were never any burnt
general.
babies.
Yeah, that's one of the big ones. There was never any burnt. Yeah, I mean, I think there might have been. It's funny because even like the Israeli statistics on this disprove it, because I think it was like they only, of the death total, they only accounted for a certain number of children, and then out of those children, there was only like 1 or 2 babies. So I'm like, wait, how are you only reporting like 1 or 2 dead babies? And that doesn't completely just disprove the narrative of the beheading or burning babies stuff. So again, it's like, and then the problem is people are such NPCs that if you are just trying to get the unvarnished truth, they interpret that as you taking one side or the other, depending on, and then what happens is, and you and I talked about this kind of a little bit. I was like, we were talking about the Israeli Gaza situation. People like you and me will get it on both sides, where it's like you get one side saying like, "Oh, you terrorist sympathizer," and then the other side will call you a Jewish shill. It's like, no, I'm on the side of let's just not kill innocent people, and so that's not going to fit neatly into your narrative if you're trying to be a blind partisan on one side or the other of any given conflict.
Yeah, and like that's a good hook into something that like consistently happens now, especially on Elon Musk's fascist Twitter, where like literally I'll just have people call me a Jew, as though like, I mean, this person yesterday said you must be either black or a Jew. And so I just started trolling him by posting in response, yeah, I'm black, actually, or I'm a Jew, or, I'm bluish. This thing from Eric Andre is so great. He says, I'm bluish, I'm black and Jewish. It's great. So I posted that in response, and eventually he just falsely accused me of, like, having child porn because I'm a libertarian. And, like, this is the common thing, is that people will just go with the knee-jerk reaction that reifies their bullshit. It doesn't matter that I've gone against Zionism and the, fucking, like, I've gone against AIPAC, I've gone against all this shit for a long time. It doesn't matter. These people will just assume I'm Jewish, even though I'm exactly 0% Jew. Not that it'd be a problem if I were Jewish, but I'm 0% Jew, and I go against like the state of Israel all the fucking time. But these people don't give a shit about that. They're here for their fucking kicks. And it's the same like for instance, the David Corbo situation, where he was lying that his family member was sold, like, I think fucking sold into slavery on Jewish slave boats. And fucking he fucking didn't prove that. He just showed some documentation. So when I got historians and actual like people from the region to look at the documents, they were like, no, in fact, this isn't real. This is just identity documents. And there's nothing Jewish about this. There's nothing even remotely Jewish. And he just like doubled down and started a bunch of personal attacks. And a bunch of alleged libertarians had his back because they don't like me. They don't like honesty. They just want to jack off about how they're right. And, Tower Gang Toad was one of the fake libertarians on board with that. So it's like that's the kind of thing we're dealing with. We're dealing with people conditioned to accept lies as long as they're palatable. I don't know if that was like a good jumping off point for Jacob or any of you.
There's also something else I saw on X, which I think is insane, by a prominent influencer, which was just brought up now, talking about libertarian circles. It's not so. I want to be careful how I phrase this. They don't simp so much for him anymore. They used to. And now that I read Bill C-16 and stuff like that, I know that he's kind of full. He got his fame kind of lying off of it as Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
This whole tirade. And then there's a lot of libertarians who still like him, even, like Kareem. Well, Jordan Peterson was good back in the day, but now he's crazy. And at least people are coming to the. I'll give credit here, though. Some people said I don't like his political statements. He's bad on that, but his psychology is good. Well, I don't even know about that. I think he lied about that. I think a lot of people need to look back and say maybe Peterson made his career. And then lately, this Elmo account said "Happy Ramadan."
Hey,
Ramadan Mubarak.
let me just head this off at the pass. That didn't happen. I looked into that. In the spirit of honesty, he didn't say that. He didn't say go to hell or there's a propensity to just post some insane shit in this regard and like attribute it to him. Jordan Peterson, but what Jordan Peterson did do that like trumps that entirely is, and these two are things that are on the record. He got mad at a paper towel dispenser because the paper towel dispenser was saying that he should put paper waste in the paper bin, and he said that that's tyranny. And fucking no, it's not, you dumb piece of shit. And it's like he did that, and a bunch of conservatives were on his side until like the manifest absurdity of yelling at a paper towel dispenser because it told you to put paper where paper goes, became obvious. And like the whole thing there is like he also had this thing where he falsely tweeted out that that like the CCP was running a torture factory, and it turned out that it was a UK cock milking porn video. And he just said that. He didn't know anything about it. He just repeated the thing somebody else said, and people still think that he's intelligent and reasonable. And a real good example of why he's not on a less amusing level lately was he got into a debate with somebody, an atheist, and said that from an atheist perspective, you cannot prove that it is within your well-being to not be decapitated. Because you can't prove that your well-being is like meaningful without God, and so therefore you cannot prove to him that it would be bad for your well-being to have your head cut off. He said that, and people still take him seriously.
Yeah, well, my understanding is, I thought Bill C-16 back in the day, I'm like, oh, he's fighting for free speech, and no, it's not. It didn't have anything to do with that. So that was an issue. Even I was like, okay, I even felt for the people.
It's complicated. The way the Canadian governing systems work is not the same as American ones. So, like Bill C-16 would apply for things on government camp properties, including like college campuses that fall under like the provincial governments, but it wouldn't necessarily be a universal thing for like everywhere in the country. So it's a little there's a little nuance there. If I had more time and the bill in front of me, I'm driving, but I could point to the parts where I think Jordan did have a good case in his initial outbreak into fame, so to speak. I don't know. I mean, I'll push back a little bit on the Jordan Peterson stuff, and I think something that I'm frustrated with within libertarian circles is that we tend to want to reduce people down to, well, either way. Some people will reduce Jordan Peterson down to only the good things he does, and then some people will only reduce him down to the bad things he does or the bad and good takes that he has. And I'm willing to just take the man at the whole and be like, I don't know, sometimes he says stuff that I think is well thought out, that's intelligent, that's useful, that's meaningful even. Like, I've read his books and I've gotten things out of them that I find to be valuable, insights that I think are true. And then there's also a lot of things that he says and things that he echoes and repeats that are really dumb. So I don't know why that's, to me, that just seems reasonable to just be like, I mean, I don't think that Jordan Peterson is someone you should, like, I don't know, model your life after necessarily. But in terms of his actual area of expertise, which is psychology. You know, if you read his books and read his writings and lectures on the areas of psychology, and then his talks about religion from the psychological worldview and stuff, and he gets into like Jungian archetypes and whatnot. Like, there's a lot there that I think is valuable and that people have actually resonated with, and that's fine. Like, I can simultaneously be like, oh, I like Jordan Peterson's take on this, and then also go, oh, and also you're in the pocket of the Daily Wire, and then you suddenly became a Zionist shill. So it's like I don't have to like demonize a person or do hero worship. I can just kind of, you know, react to each individual thing they do and say and go, I like that, I don't like that.
Right. Yeah. But like my thing with like, okay, so Peterson and the Daily Wire is a good example because I went against RFK Jr. for something he said on the Peterson podcast over there. And what RFK Jr. said was both absurd and stupid and wrong. And what he said was that, first off, if you put atrazine in with a bunch of frogs, they will immediately turn trans. That isn't true. In fact, the only like documented case of this happening was frogs that were already predisposed to intersexualism, and those frogs were like predisposed to this sort of like switching, and it was routine and regular exposure from agricultural runoff that caused the phenomenon. But RFK Jr. just said that, and people ran with it because it confirmed their delusions that trans people must be an invention of some evil cabal of blah blah blah. And meanwhile, that was never true. The like atrazine in the water is not going to make your kid trans. That isn't like ever supported by any science anywhere ever. So when he said that,
well,
I went
think
to
that...
go.
Oh, sorry. I thought you paused. Finish.
So I was just going to say, I think that's a good example of it because, like, RFK will just say something and libertarians will parrot it. And RFK was given a free platform by Adrian Malagon at the Libertarian Party of California's convention. And Adrian Malagon gave him this platform because a bunch of right libertarians like him. And a bunch of right libertarians like him because he confirms their biases. And one of the, like, things that he said that was, you know, fucking evil and wrong was that the virus was generated specifically to avoid Ashkenazi Jews. And he said that with no proof at all, ever. And a bunch of people just supported that because it confirmed their biases. A lot of libertarians just ran with that. A lot of libertarians will just run with anything RFK Jr. says. And that's the reason he had enough pull among libertarians that, you know, fucking Angela McArdle is up there saying that he should run as a libertarian, maybe. So, like, what I'm saying, like, there had to be this whole fucking row among libertarians about this subject, about, hey, maybe RFK Jr., who is a gun-grabbing statist who greenwashes shit and simps for Israel, shouldn't be our choice. And, like, a bunch of people came out of the woodwork to say, yeah, you know what, this is fucked up. And, like, Libertarian Party officials who would normally not be in accord with me are suddenly on the fuck RFK bandwagon. And so, like, I'm totally fine with, like, saying that as long as they're saying it for honest principles. And a lot of them boosted him before because he was saying shit that they agreed with. Sort of like how they'll boost Javier Milei even while he's actively engaged in statism and, you know,
Yes.
being a massive tyrant because he also calls leftists shit. And they don't need a standard of evidence. And so Jordan Peterson having this guy on his show, RFK Jr., is like emblematic of what he's willing to tolerate. Because he just let this guy say that. And psychologically speaking, being this cruel to trans people, saying that, you know, I'll just boost and support anti-trans narratives like, no, you're just like frogs being atrazine poisoned. That, like, no. In fact, that's not true. But a bunch of libertarians ran with that, and I got some libertarians accusing me of being in the pocket of atrazine for saying
Oh
this
my.
was false. I got accused of being an atrazine shill.
Wow.
And I'm like, no, in fact, I'm anti-pesticides. I'm all about just growing shit yourself. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to oppose bullshit. And honesty is not as important to these people as, getting their shit across. Because I know you got to
Well,
leave,
let
so you
me
probably go.
well let me say something, and I'll probably have to leave shortly after this. But in response to the RFK stuff, I mean, I think this will kind of tie everything together. There, I think there's two different standards by which I will kind of filter someone and their views and stances and kind of activism through, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's just kind of like this person in the course of like the public discourse and the Overton window, that's kind of to me like a low standard. Like I'll just kind of take things they say on a case by case basis, and then I'll kind of say, I think this person's a net positive. I think this person's a net negative, and that can even change over time. So like a year ago, I would have said RFK was a net positive in the Overton window, even though there was many things I disagreed with him on. And today it's a little bit more mixed, but there's still things about him that I could say like, well, I at least like him on this. And I understand where some libertarians of maybe my ilk would have positive feelings towards him on those particular issues. I think the issue comes in then when this is where I think we should have a different set of standards is, and this pertains to especially like the Libertarian Party, is when we're talking about people who are going to be the standard bearer for libertarianism, whether they're, just big names in the public discourse, or then, even more so if they're going to be like, hey, what if I run for office, like the biggest office in the country, and have the endorsement of the party that bears the name Libertarian? And I think that's why you kind of saw a big shift in a lot of people, where they were like maybe friendly to RFK to a point, when it was just like, okay, we're kind of glad RFK is in the public discourse and maybe getting people to be disenfranchised with the sort of like two-party monopoly that we have in our country. Yeah. But that's different than, RFK should run as a libertarian. Like, well, no, that's just
dumb.
Completely dumb. Like, completely dumb. And some people are trying to justify it like, well, he would get the party so much ballot access and money. I'm like, yeah, but you know what else he would do? He would destroy the branding and the public image of libertarianism so totally that it would take generations to even think about recovering that in the public eye.
Yeah.
Like, we do not want this guy going on a national tour and associating his brand, his platform, and his ideas with libertarianism. Like, that is just the worst idea possible. And there is no amount of money or political benefits that would make that trade-off worthwhile.
Yeah, well, and the worst part of it is, to me, like, RFK Jr. has been a statist for a long fucking time, and he's still a statist. He has a video on his site, like his YouTube, fear-mongering about the border and claiming that kids in fucking border cities are stepping over dead bodies to get to school. I haven't seen those news reports. Maybe somebody can show me that TikTok where somebody is stepping over a body to get into school. I don't think that's true. That sounds like fear-mongering. And so when people, like, RFK Jr., to me, he hasn't been a net positive. To me, he's always been a weird, fear-mongering cunt. But, like, at the same time, like, I'll still support, for instance, his efforts to get back on Twitter, because I think censoring him while allowing for the narratives of bloodthirsty, evil pieces of shit like Fauci was a terrible mistake. So personally, I think that there's some nuance there as well, but that doesn't mean, like, so in terms of net positives and net negatives, RFK Jr. is a harlot for the state. He has been for a long time. And one of the things that he said was he wanted gun control. one of the things that he said historically is that he supports the war on drugs. And he's just, and like people are like, oh, but he also said something based, like maybe the CIA killed fucking fucking the other Kennedy. And it's like, yeah, maybe the CIA killed JFK, but he also said that the CIA is mostly good people. Trust me, my niece is a CIA. And I'm like, that doesn't set off red flags for you? That maybe this is all just ops and shilling and fucking that's the reason he gets so much access and play? Maybe ballot access at the expense of liberty is a bad thing for liberty. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't, because you got to go, so I'm not sure if you got something to respond with that, but
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I mostly agree with that, and it's complicated, right? Like when we're judging if someone's a net positive or net negative, and I won't begrudge you for disagreeing and with that. I just think, but I think we should all agree that, like, yeah, like in general, there's a difference between acknowledging case by case basis on, you know, is this person good or bad overall, issue by issue, but then we should have much stricter standards for what we associate with our, you know, the namesake of our ideas, whether it's libertarianism, anarchism, whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, as far as it goes with, like, you know, I do think, you know, that what's going on the LP level is more that what they're trying to do is sort of like have their cake and eat it too. Like they don't want RFK to run, but they don't want to just flat out come out and say he's not going to be the LP candidate, because they want to have him be close enough that they can use him for media exposure and like get some clips and stuff. And I'm like, listen, I'm okay with that to a point, but also, like, and I'm saying this as someone who's been one of the forefront, like, Mises Caucus supporters for the last 5 years. But the way they handle that over in California was just completely, just from top to bottom, screwed up. Like from a logistics standpoint, from an ethical standpoint, just and I've been public on Twitter, or X, we're going to call it, about this. You can have ends that I can say, okay, I can see where you're coming from and why you want to do this, but the way you're going about it is creating trade-offs in terms of the amount of destruction and the amount of bad PR that it's doing for the party and for the movement. That I don't know that you thought this through.
And like, just, you know, on the level of some, because I know you got a book, but just got to get this off my chest, because you and I agree on this particular matter, and we had a conversation on a Twitter Spaces relating to this subject. So like this was a temporary part of that stream that I really just want to air out, because honesty, like lack thereof, affects everybody in libertarian circles. And one of the dishonest things that I think happened there, like, you can speak to this, like, we don't agree on everything, you know, and we don't have to. And you've noticed for a significant period of time now that even when I say something reasonable, there'll be a whole lot of people saying something, you know, about that. Like, they've got issues with me. I'm an evil piece of shit, right? There are probably whispers in all circles of libertarianism occasionally about how terrible I am. But we've never had it like an overtly negative exchange, you and I, Jacob. And one of the things that I wanted to really cement in that regard is I don't think you were at all wrong for bringing up what you brought up about Liquid Zulu. The fact that he had that weird tweet where he was seemingly defending fucking like child porn's legality. Maybe don't do that and associate yourself with anarchy, libertarianism, anything. Like, he's basically like the ANCAP Vouchen that way, and these people tried to accuse you of smearing him. Smears are lies! You didn't smear him, you posted a screenshot!
Clips of me out of context. I took whole screenshots of things he said and posted them. So it's not analogous. He also said that it's okay to allow pedophiles in public spaces as long as they're not actively violating rights, which I was like, again, these are weird hills to be dying on, man. Like, at the very least, you got to have a little bit of self-awareness. But I just got home, so I'm going to go spend some time with the kids. But hey, man, it's great talking with you. Yeah. And I know we got something scheduled, so looking forward to doing it again soon.
Absolutely. 28th. Be well.
Yep. See you then. Bye.
But yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, you can't even be on it. Like, the Scott Ritter stuff that came up with the rally. The fact that the Rage Against the War Machine rally couldn't even be honest about being against war. Because Scott Ritter is a pro-war motherfucker. So is Hinkle. So are all these other people. They just want Russia to win. And when you have people like that on board, you shouldn't call it an anti-war rally. That's not honest. And then it comes out that, you know, he's a twice convicted child predator who tried to fuck kids after meeting up twice, and turns out both times they were cops. Which, good. I would rather cops meet up with this guy than fucking kids. So, personally, I think that that's a great example there as well. You can't even be honest that it's anti-war in your rally name, because the people there are pro-war. They want Ukraine to be crushed. And you can't be honest that these people support liberty, because when these people started to, like, be exposed, Ritter and a bunch of other shady characters, a lot of libertarians just said, shut the fuck up, you're bad for liberty. You're trying to undermine something that we've planned. Good! If something that you've planned can be undermined by exposing a child predator, fucking good! And so, it's that sort of thing. And like, he got invited to 2 more rallies affiliated with the Mises Caucus. Like, the Rage Against the War Machine rally sponsored fucking, like, Humanity for Peace. And Humanity for Peace was a LaRouchian fucking rally that was also backing a bunch of tankies who don't oppose war. They want Russia to win. And, like, at the same time as that, fucking the second thing was, like, Diane Sare, or whatever her name is, and she was, like, directly supported by Angela McArdle and Larry Sharp at her political rally that she also dubbed an anti-war rally. And guess who else was headlining speaking there? Scott Ritter. Scott Ritter also speaking at Humanity for Peace, who, by the way, directly affiliated with Nazis. Strasserite Nazis. And a bunch of us had to push those motherfuckers out. And this is how libertarianism is these days. You just got to push out Nazis and pedophiles constantly because they're not willing to be honest. And it's fucking they lie about people like me.
And people want to keep the peace and the good view of, like, the still waters so much that instead of trying to keep the bad shit out, they'll yell at you for going after them.
Yeah.
I've seen them yell at you, and I've been yelled at too, plenty of times.
Yeah. And, like, Kareem, you've been quiet and also no video for a while. I don't know if you want to say anything about that. Kareem is the guest user, but okay, well, I guess not.
If he doesn't, I have something else to add. I feel like we've created a culture in our society, and I used to fancy that this was just a status normie way of thinking. In fact, there's a lot of libertarians and anarchists out there that will tell you to this day that it is only for them. But the truth is that we've created this thing in our culture where not only do we seek constant confirmation of our bias, but we expect people to build and play to a base. Not only do we expect that, but we, as content creators and influencers and speakers, often end up finding ourselves against a wall financially by that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why I will never, ever monetize, because I don't base play. And people will show up loving me 1 minute and then they're mad the next because I'm not continuing to play along the lines that they think I should carry. And I used to think that we were a kind of people that like to have our ideals, like, challenged, and that we like to actually seek truth. But in all actuality, we're just playing follow the leader with the rest of the normies, joining into culture wars and picking sides. I don't know why we have such a collectivist mindset stuck in us still, even though we're like claiming to be separated from it. But like, it gets worse by the day.
Yeah, and like, that's one of the things. Like, I was heavily critical of Dave Smith. And
Me too.
Jacob and I got into an argument about that on the space I referenced as well. But like, Jacob understands that my criticisms are actually reasonable in this regard. Some of the other people's were less reasonable. It wasn't my space, and it as everybody who like understands the difference between anti-spaces and spaces, they'll tell you that like my spaces are generally a lot more rational and sort of keyed into truth and reason and shit. And like a lot of the things when I brought this up, I said that like he was doing what Vivek Ramaswamy was saying, and saying that we need to militarize the border with the troops that we have. That like Dave Smith was saying, bring all the troops home, and then and put them on the border. I don't fucking think we need like a militarized border in the already existing constitution-free zone, that 100-mile strip. I don't think we need to make that worse. But like being honest about that, like being honest about libertarian principles, like don't have martial law and have like heavy border control, somehow pisses off a lot of people who falsely claim to be libertarians, to the point where one of them, I forget who, he was a politician, and he was like, fucking like, since when are libertarians for open borders? And then Ace Archist on Twitter, he posted a screenshot of the libertarian platform that said that they're for free migration and trade and shit. It's like, this guy immediately says, I'm out then. He lost one. And like Angela McArdle.
Bye, bitch.
Yeah. And Angela McArdle was on her hands and knees with a lot of these motherfuckers saying, please come back. Please, we have to have our pro-borders libertarian candidates. And it's like, no, we don't.
It doesn't even make sense to have those. They just want to get the disenfranchised Republicans. They're not interested in libertarians.
Mm-hmm. And like this guy, he lost not too long later. He did so abysmally poorly in his local elections because he wasn't campaigning locally. He was campaigning on Twitter by being a piece of shit to brown people.
Yay. Jesus. Jeez. I'm sorry. This stuff drives me crazy, and I wish it would stop shocking me. But it hasn't yet, because we will just behave like, I don't even want to say we. That kind of libertarian will just continuously behave that way and still somehow garner like so much attention. I don't understand how that happens. Like, I'm not jealous. I don't really want that much attention, please. But like, it just shocks me that the things that like originally drew me to the Libertarian Party are nowhere to be seen anymore. It's like the more and more we focused on bringing new people into the party, the less of the party existed. And now there's hardly anything left, so we keep having to play mouth service to these statists and stuff. Well, I mean, that's one of the major reasons why I left. They stopped supporting anything that I really believed in, for the most part, on a face value. Not to mention their social media. Like earlier, somebody mentioned something about like wanting the platform and the media information. What good is standing on a platform if it's so rotten you're gonna fall through?
Mm-hmm. And like, that's one of the things. Like, this is an American political party, representing an idea that started in like 19th century Europe, and then was later like hijacked by the Kochs in the 70s, and these people want to pretend that because the thing is now about right-wing shit, that they can ignore certain aspects of reality. And like, for instance, okay, you want to know how these people get like the numbers that they do? They cuck to these people. They cuck to the right wing. Tim Pool is a great example of this, because if you go on Tim Pool, you'll have a whole lot of Republicans, a whole lot of conservatives following your shit. And so when the redheaded libertarian needed like some fucking support recently, she became the media woman for Tim Pool. And she became the media woman for Tim Pool so that she could continue to lie about being libertarian while supporting a bunch of boilerplate conservative views and oftentimes just lying about people, just lying about things. She lied that that Trump ended the Fed. She said he ended the Fed because he consolidated the power between the Fed and the Mint. That's in fact the opposite of ending the Fed. That's giving the Fed easier access to being the Fed. And the Fed has not gotten to be a better Fed since then. But she has not retracted this.
I hate to be the one to say it, but like, I got titties, I'll say it. You strap some titties to somebody who is vaguely into guns, and you have a new person that will have like 60,000 followers.
Yeah, like Blair White, for example.
Oh my God. I don't even. Oh.
So like Tim Pool is a hack, a bald little scared man who doesn't do anything for anyone, except himself. And, and recently he like kicked Jesse Kelly off of his show and then deleted the episode because Jesse Kelly was like advocating violence against leftists. That's what your audience does all the fucking time.
I'm actually surprised he kicked them off.
Well, and then he brought them back on, and like, and then he had this public midlife crisis meltdown about it. He's like, oh, I don't have to do the Timcast IRL stuff. I don't have to have all. I could just do this on my own, and I would save so much money. I'm trying. And he did this on another instance where he literally yelled at Luke Radowski of We Are Change. Now, I don't even like Luke, but he yelled at him when Luke was right about how Trump was the warp speed guy, the lockdown guy, the guy behind the first inflation, directly related to the COVID shit. And Luke was right. Tim was not. And Tim told him to shut the fuck up on stream. And he had this public meltdown. I'm so sick of talking about this. Fuck you. No. If you get to belabor all the points you belabor against trans people and brown people and anybody who the conservatives jack off about, then he gets to bring up this point that you're tired of hearing about. Fuck off. And libertarians eat his shit up.
I'm actually shocked at how much libertarians have eaten up the anti-trans and anti-queer rhetoric that the right-wing statists are throwing. Like, if you even try to look any of this stuff up, you realize that you're being fucking played for a fool, first off. Second off, like, I came to hang out with libertarians and anarchists because it was the only real safe place for trans and queer people, because, like, liberalism is not it. Like, I can't do that stuff. That shit is fucked. But, like, over the years, it has become literally unsafe. Like, I have to, if I see that someone is a like, more trad or market anarchist or libertarian, I have to do a crab dance to figure out whether they want me dead or not.
And
that is the most neck-breaking, like, crazy flip around that I have ever fucking seen.
Well, and it's because they've ceded too much ground to these people. Like, the redheaded libertarian gets a huge amount of play in these circles. Clint Russell is a close friend of Jocelyn. Jocelyn tried to silence me and lied about me doxing her because I went against her for saying Conquered Property is legit and then didn't shut up when she tried to dogpile me with her dumb fuck audience. And then, like, this went on for years. and she hasn't gotten better. And like all of this stuff, like she is directly like friends with Clint Russell, who lied that Andrew Tate followed him so that he could like get a bunch of people to criticize him for that and then block anybody who doesn't like Andrew Tate. And he has been boosting Andrew Tate like nonstop cocksucking since. And like it's fucking hilarious that this person is considered a representative enough of libertarians that he got to run the debates in the recent Libertarian Party debate, where he literally went around like an inquisitor, according to Jacob Hornberger, and asked people if they were vaccinated, as though being vaccinated is a fucking like disqualifying offense for libertarians. Meanwhile, a bunch
of libertarians forgot that there's
go.
Or am I here?
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I froze. I said it's like libertarians forgot that we're supposed to mind our own business. And it's not just with one thing or another. It's like with every little thing that touches the culture war. They're getting sucked into the us or them stuff, and they're falling onto an actual statist side.
Yes. And like it's like it's excellently typified by the sort of dichotomy there between I support I say that it should be a disqualifying offense for you to get a vaccine in your own body, but you know what isn't a disqualifying offense? Supporting Texas putting razor wire in the water so that they can shove families into it. That's something that most of those people on stage were like, yeah, we support Texan like independence, secession. We support Texas's right to defend itself, and it's the same exact right to defend itself that Israel claims. It's the same exact principle that Israel has the right to defend itself. Don't ask what they're doing to Palestinians. Fucking America has the right to defend itself. Don't ask what it's doing to foreigners. It's the same bullshit rhetoric. And one of them, which actually is people hurting other people, is considered self-defense and not a disqualifying offense. And one of them is somebody like, I didn't take the vaccine. I didn't take the COVID jab, and I blame it for killing my last two remaining grandparents, and like my fucking like family getting repeatedly sick when like almost ever they take the latest booster. They move, most of them just get sick. So I'm good. I'm not going to. But the fact that they took it does not make them subhuman. The fact that these people are like libertarians who took the vaccine does not disqualify them from being a libertarian. It means that they made a decision that I think is fucking stupid, but to make that the linchpin and not whether or not you support minority rights or whether you want to shove families into razor wire, that is dumb and evil. Because some of these people are just dumb and some of these people are very smart and they know how many useful idiots they can plow from these fields. And so like the whole idea is like the libertarian movement needs to be purged of those people. It needs to be, if anything, of those people. But instead, it's the kinds of people who like are like that get the most play. And that's how the numbers happen. Because if it's not Tim Pool, it's somebody else. It'll be like some influencer that you get in with, and that influencer gets you in with other influencers. And it's like Steven Crowder or Owen Benjamin or, fucking any number of other people. You get in with those people and suddenly you'll have the support of a whole new crowd of people, and you can pretend that you
forget every principle that you pretend you have.
Yes. And so with that, like,
well, if you don't forget that you have those principles, you lose everything you just got, because they'll leave you out they'll toss you ass out.
Yeah. It's like, that's one of the things, right? I fundamentally oppose these people because they're not serious about liberty. If they were, they would purge these people already. If they were, they would get rid of this fucking problem. But they're not doing that. All they're doing is continuing to spread lies. Like, so many libertarians, because they don't like trans people, spread the lie that schools are now putting litter boxes in restrooms for students who identify as furries. That's never
that was
happened.
a literal hoax.
Yeah, it's never been true, but they just believed Joe Rogan instead of looking into it at all. They spread this around, they lied, and then they didn't accept that they lied. Because honesty isn't important to these people.
We need to start becoming uncomfortable when we're comfortable in the information we're garnering.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like it when I'm around people or when I'm looking at stuff and I find that I agree with everything in it, I start to get suspicious. Because I'm like, why does this sound so good?
Mm-hmm.
It's like somebody's trying to sell me something. Anytime something seems to perfectly fit whatever the fuck makes you feel good, you need to be taking that apart and following it to where it came from, especially the money.
As the great and awesome philosopher Tom Waits says, there's always free cheese in a mousetrap. Fucking
Jeez.
asinine. So, like, and by the way, God's Away on Business is an excellent song. But, so, alright, I think this is...
I love Tom Waits.
Yeah, fucking excellent. And so, my whole deal is, we need to be better about honesty. If we can't have truth at the basis of what we believe and what we spread, we're not libertarians. Libertarianism is not rooted in anything if it's not rooted in honesty. I say, like, I said it on a routine basis. I said, truth without liberty is useless, and liberty without truth is impossible. And so, like, if you can't spread your truth, if, for instance, you're beholden to a guy like Elon Musk who says that, no, but we'll give you freedom of speech, we just won't give you freedom of reach. Yeah, if you lock somebody in a box, they can technically say whatever they want, but that doesn't mean that anybody can hear it or that their speech is free because you locked them in a box. And so, it's like that. It's that mentality. And then who doesn't get locked out of the box? Who does get the reach? People Elon Musk likes. Not people who are reasonable or good or ethical. Matt Wallace is a scammer.
Like literal fascists?
Yeah. Matt Wallace is a scammer. And not Walsh, I mean, he's also a scammer. And he's also a liar and a piece of shit.
Different kind of scam, though.
Yeah. But, like, Matt Wallace is just transparently wrong about most of the things he says. And he goes on there and he says shit that's outright lies. And he gets support from Elon Musk. And Elon Musk gets support from libertarians in doing so. The Art of Purpose, Creation 247 on Twitter, non-stop battering ram of lies. Dom Luker lies a lot. A lot of these people just lie. And they continue to lie. There was this Cat Canada. She lied that this person was a minor when they got their trans surgery, and this person had to come out and say, in fact, no. And while that happened, Cat Canada also boosted a literal Nazi in saying that Hitler was actually a good guy who was just stopping transgender surgeries on minors. And this person gets boosted. All these people get boosted. The lie about the Haitian cannibal gangs gets boosted by Elon Musk. And Oron McIntyre, who's affiliated in libertarian circles, was the person he quote tweeted in order to spread the lie. And the lies just keep spreading. Lies! Just lies! And libertarians cannot shut the fuck up for a second and become honest. And that is going to be the death of the party. It's going to be the death of the non-party movement. It's going to be the death of liberty if the people who say they want it can't shut the fuck up and stop lying. I'm angry. People can probably tell.
No, I agree with you. Like, I mean, this has like really been horribly upsetting and demoralizing and even depressing at times. Because there doesn't seem to be a way to put the brakes on that part of Anarchia has drank so much goddamn Kool-Aid, you can't even hardly speak to them because the buzzwords get them going.
Yeah. And like that combined with
attempting to speak the truth gets you like actually accused of being like mentally infirm and stuff. Like how do you talk to someone who doesn't want to hear you?
Yeah. And so
we don't want to hear anything anymore.
And that combined with this one thing that I will end like this sort of stream on. AI is literally the source of the current anti-cannibal gang craze. AI was the software used to generate that article. AI was literally the source of a lie, of an AI generated lie that was spread by Auron McIntyre and a bunch of fake fuck like non-libertarians. A lie that they could have just spent a little bit of time looking into to find out that they were spreading Zionist propaganda. A lie that Elon Musk spread himself because he's a massive, like, he's directly affiliated with
He's a huge Zionist.
Yeah, and like, he's also, like, directly affiliated with the state, and the state wants people kept in suspension, asleep, at each other's throats, and not actually capable of using our energy and uniting against them. So they want us separated. They want us divided. They want us hating each other. And AI is the single greatest tool in their toolkit ever. Not only for misinformation, but also for monitoring, for like spying, for creating systems that can automatically control people, that can stop the flow of their money, that can create facial recognition super states and fucking IoT dystopias. And the literal government is right now actively seeking things for their hyper enabled officers through the military, where they can do digital disinformation campaigns. Digital deception is a line in a government document, and most people have no idea that they're being spied on by their Internet of Things devices to find out what they're thinking in the moment, so that the government can more effectively create lies that will affect the target population that they want to hit. And then those lies are immediately believed and supported by fact checkers that were also like reflexively and incestually supported by the state. And then people like Elon Musk can have these on his platform and have a huge amount of traffic and traction going to this evil lie. And it's like AI is the final nail in the coffin. If we cannot be honest right now, even without AI being at its strongest, while AI is literally puppeteering the news agenda, we are fucked. The burned babies narrative was an AI-generated narrative. The burned baby was a picture of something burnt that we couldn't identify, and when they did reverse searches on it, they found out that the exact placement of the same towel was a dog at the vet's office. So somebody took that dog at the vet's office and said, this is a burned baby in Israel, and this is the reason we need to go against Hamas. The same dishonesty that caused the Israeli government to tweet out this thing saying that somebody was holding a weapon in the fucking shit, and saying that somebody but it turned out it wasn't a gun, it was a nightstick, and it was a security guard, and the people filtering in there were not in fact Hamas. They were normal people fleeing a bombing campaign that was happening exactly outside the fucking hospital they were in. But dishonesty. People don't care about honesty. People didn't care that the ghost of Kiev was transparent evidence that the Ukrainian government was creating propaganda. People don't care. They will just support the vassals. They will support the state. They will support their chosen fucking leaders. And libertarians will go along with it when it suits them.
Well, yeah, and they'll even people aren't willing to give you a chance to take your time and find out whether this is factual or not. Like, people will bring these things to you, like the cannibal gangs thing. They'll bring that shit to you, and if you don't jump on board immediately, if you show any form of questioning of it in either direction, you're the bad guy, which is ridiculous. We need to give each other, be patient with each other while we're trying to figure out what we believe and what we don't.
Yes. And without that patience and honesty, we are absolutely fucked, because the state has way more momentum with its lies than we will ever have with our dishonesty, prevention. We need to get on
and being
board.
able to voice those concerns with each other and share things back and forth and discuss these things is like part of being able to do that. Like we can help each other find these like facts and stuff and be correcting each other, but only if we don't attack each other for contesting something.
For worthless garbage also, like just like the kinds of things that you can just immediately debunk by Googling something. Just holy shit.
A lot of times it only takes a moment, and I'm so shocked that the people who are falling into it are actually the ones doing it. Like, it's crazy. The people who taught me to question everything are now participating in this bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what that always meant, instead of question everything, I started to realize real early on that instead of question everything, what they really meant was question the things I want you to question, and everything else, shut the fuck up, you're a
but
commie.
don't question me.
Yeah. Like, shut the fuck up, commie. Woke. Fucking, and now they can just, because of Elon Musk, they can just come out and say it. Just, they can tell me, shut up, Jew. I got that so much when I called out.
I saw that.
Yeah. And like, it's not even that. It's like just that. It's like, I called out Nick Fuentes on saying he wants to, when he's 30, have a 15-year-old or 16-year-old pristine, untouched virgin, innocent girl. He wants that. And
what the fuck?
Yes. And I called that out and it said that he's a pedophile, and a bunch of people in my mentions for a while were just like, shut up, Jew, and a bunch of other shit. I see all of you, and some libertarians were still not off board with Nick Fuentes. Some libertarians are still willing to call him a fellow traveler. And so it's like, shut the fuck up. If you say you want liberty, do not support these statists and their weird bullshit. And if you say you oppose groomers, don't then support somebody who says that they want a pristine, untouched, innocent 16-year-old. Fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
Or like Matt Walsh saying like 16-year-olds are adults and should be able to be impregnated as long as you're married to the 16-year-old. Or Thaddeus Russell Or Thaddeus Russell in libertarian circles saying that you should be able to fuck a 13-year-old if you're a professor giving her better grades. Or Thaddeus Russell having Scott Ritter as a Patreon perk on his show, who says that, like, who tried to fuck 2 children. Or Thaddeus Russell having Stephen Kirshner on his show to talk about how adult child sex is great. Or Thaddeus Russell having an article for the Daily Beast defending rapist pedo Roman Polanski. Maybe these people are not the people we should be affiliating with. But Thaddeus Russell held a panel, and Clint Russell, totally not related, was totally fine being on that panel. So was, who was he? Matt Taibbi and a couple other people. It was the Unregistered Live. Maybe you should be registered, Thaddeus. Fuck.
Yeah, jeez.
And so, like, these are the people we're dealing with. We're fundamentally dishonest, evil motherfuckers. And
they're simps because they come in droves.
Mm-hmm. Like, they can't do this shit on their own. They need other people to co-sign their garbage.
Yes.
So, anyway, point is, yeah, lots of problems. We'll be talking more about this at some other point. We'll also be on Spaces again if fucking Elon Musk stops having a fucked up platform.
Works.
Yeah. So we'll find that out. But either way, yeah, thank you for coming on, Mike and Kareem, even though you're not saying anything and probably left your phone somewhere. And also Jacob Winograd. And the most important thing is, smash the fucking state and realize that we have a fundamental duty to be honest with ourselves and other people. And if we aren't, then we're nothing better than the state. So instead, vote for radical anarchy, whether in politics or in principle, and smash the fucking state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,